I'll turn it over to Sergeant Brawley.
Same drunk, different bar. Hello everyone, I'm Sergeant Brawley. I'm the new boss president for Fort Drum. Some of my biggest supporters are here today. Garrison Command Sergeant Major Cook, Family Morale, Welfare and Recreation Advisor Michelle Roden, Mr. Hal Greer, MWR Director, and Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers Council, new Vice President Sergeant Martinez, and Specialist Sarah. And my brigade representatives consist of 10th Sustainment Brigade Specialist Buckner, 10th CAS Specialist Willis, AUSA is a big supporter of the BOSS program and the events that we do. I hope that we can continue to bring a strong bond with AUSA and work together to keep having sold-out events like our Mountain Mutter and Riverfest. I'm looking forward to our BOSS team and AUSA working together on such future events in the community and support the morale and welfare for our 51% of single soldiers that make up Fort Drum. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like Mr. Greer to come forward to speak about MWR.
Thanks, Michelle. Normally, when you get this honor out on post, you think you're approaching retirement. So I get to say thanks to everybody that's leaving. 15 years ago when I arrived here, if you took a good look at Colonel Lasky, you can remember that I too was 6'3" and I had jet black hair. How time changes. I want to say thanks, and I want to say thanks to a lot of people. And it's not just about AUSA and MWR up here today. While I was in Syracuse yesterday, SJA got a hold of my slides, and they made some appropriate changes. And I appreciate that. Whenever we hear SJA, we kind of cringe, and we say, okay, they damper. But the fact is, we would not be here today as we are had it not been for SJA. In fact, they're the ones that set us on this path of participating in Riverfest. And I see Beth Phipps out there and some of the founders. I'm not sure if Joe McLaughlin is here. But so many of you that are out there can remember way back when we used to bus everybody out in military buses, and we had soldiers setting up GP mediums and things like that. And SJA said, hey, stop. You can't do that. Only MWR can be involved. And back then, we only had about 2,000, 1,800 soldiers that partook of Riverfest. And once that was put in place, that we started getting involved. MWR went out and started buying buses. We hired so much talent sitting out in front of you here. You recognize all these faces sitting in front of you from MWR. And everybody started picking up roles out there to partner, per se, although we're not allowed to use that word. And then as time evolved, other events grew. And we started with Mountain Fest, embellishing Mountain Fest, and went on to air shows. And then the partnerships that developed internal, it started morphing, and we had Carthage Hospital, we had Martins Point, USO with Sesame Street. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because this is what has made Fort Drum and Watertown so special. And when the general officers leave here and they go to other assignments as 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, it doesn't matter. They talk about the standard here. In fact, when Colonel Lasky and the Sergeant Major, and we haven't seen too much about the Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major, would you stand up so everybody can see you? Okay, I went wave running with him, and he attracted the police right away. We got pulled over. So, when they go to other installations, it does not matter whether it's Campbell or Bragg or the 19 primary installations that house soldiers, they say, hey, why aren't you doing it this way? And it doesn't matter whether it's an economic engine or it's partnerships. And one of those factors that's well known about Watertown is the partnership with the local community. All of you out there that contribute so much to the quality of life of soldiers. Okay? And that's what it's all about, is soldiers sitting at that table. So I think I got control of the slides. Let me see if I can make it work. You know, we all rallied here, and we're all proud of the assembly that we pulled together, that so many, Mary Corvo and Jim Corvo and the townspeople, you couldn't even park downtown. But in making hard decisions on reductions, the Army has to make economic decisions on where it's going to place its soldiers. And it has to have sound justification. And some of these areas up here were the ones that resulted in making the decision for the Army. Okay, it's maneuver space, it's airspace, it's training facilities, it's medical. But the reason I put this slide up here is that MWR, quality of life, placed number 3 out of 19. All the installations that house soldiers. And if you consider that there are 167 other military installations, you know, that's really 3 out of 167. I mean, you really got to get down to it. It's child care, it's CRD, it's the gymnasiums, it's the chapel, it's all those things that my team out there that I work for represent. And the reason that we're so proud of that figure, and I wanted to throw it up to you, was two reasons. First of all, the Army makes smart decisions because it's representing our country and has to place soldiers where they can support them. And number 2, we were able to get about our business because of you guys. Okay? We diminished in size also. But as we were going down, you guys were backfilling, making sure we could do our job. Next slide, please. Oh, I got the slide. So, what I wanted to say was that you guys out there are the champions behind this installation. You improved quality of life, morale so much. It raised the bar right up here. And it's the selfish team that we've assembled. It doesn't matter. I could start right there and go around right to the front here. And as is typical when we're doing a mutter at 5 o'clock in the morning, they were all here early. Every one of them filled in. That's why they're sitting up front. They grabbed the front row seats. And when we're doing an event out on the installation, they're the same way. The soldiers, the boss soldiers that are always here representing all the soldiers that are on the installation. And by the way, about 7,500 are going to be deployed again. And the challenge that we're facing, you know, in the heavy lifting of the war, when you wrapped around us, now we're starting to draw down a little bit more in the Army. We only lost 28 soldiers. Everybody's out in the street rallying. Oh, man, we did good. They took note of our support of Fort Drum. But the truth of the matter is that because they picked up those areas that have been vacated in Korea and Germany, the rotation pace is picking up. The cyclic rotation is picking up for all the soldiers who left behind. So in one way, we win by retaining our military installation, but in the other way, we have to realize that it's so important that we continue to support our soldiers because it hasn't slowed down for them. It's gotten heavier. And also on the other side of the coin is that when we go into these training modes throughout the global environment, it's mostly the seniors that rotate. So we're not doing as much fighting, We're doing training. And the world has not gotten any lighter if you've been watching the news in Hungary and places like that. And oh, by the way, I know that Colonel Lasky was talking about being in Europe and having a lot of exciting experiences. He actually met his wife on the beach in Spain. Just remember that. So you guys are what I call the program enhancers, the movers and shakers, the things that come together that make so many different things that are special. All right, so what's happened? I want you to think back. You know, I don't care whether it's Mountain Fest or River Fest. Talk about River Fest, and we had about 2,000 soldiers when we got involved. AUSA had been doing that for many years. And in the same way with a 10-miler, AUSA was always there. But as you embellish these events and grow them, that meant that not only were you serving and taking care of soldiers, but it left a little bit more money on the table for AUSA to do things. And as they were doing things with their volunteers and we kept growing, they brought more professionals into the nest. Fact is, we're not a genius at what we do. Everybody here has a little bit to contribute. And what happened was, we got excited and we started leveraging each other's talents. And more came to the plate and we tried to figure out what we could do. And sometimes MWR simply took a backbench seat. And we enjoy that, but we were there, making sure that you were a success, and the same way with you all in Congress. And then after every event, I don't care what it was, I see old Peter out there, we raised the bar. We figured out what we could have done a little bit better and how we could broaden what we were doing. So we had, these after-action meetings to figure out, okay, who we're going to go after next and what we're going to do. And we also did everything very carefully, systemically, not to overtax our community, to get everybody in rhythm and so it was predictable. This is a quote from Joe McLaughlin. Is Joe here? He rarely misses, but I didn't see him. And Joe told me many years ago, he says, it's amazing what you can accomplish when nobody's out to seek credit. And that is a staple of Joe McLaughlin and so many of you out there. This was all selfless contribution to what we did. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Riverfest and how Riverfest from way back, and I see Beth back there, and Beth said she used to pass the basket around. Randy used to pass the basket around so that they could find enough money to do retirement ceremonies and things like that. And now Riverfest has become not only just one of the most important events for AUSA, but one of the most important events for our soldiers and families to go out and be part of our community, be citizens of our community. And we all became empowered. I mean, that's the fact. And you can see the rest of that scorecard when they analyze what's going to happen to installations. Now, I'm going to bring up some slides that you're going to remember now. Riverfest, how we grew that to the pavilion, how we made it easier on ourselves, and how we divided up the territory so that there was no conflict in why JAG, who looks at it, says, hey, that's a pretty neat event now. And of course, I underscored that allowed us to go out and buy buses as time went on. And now we use the buses to take soldiers everywhere down to whitewater rafting and things like that. So we learned from each other. Mountain Fest, we did a couple of air shows, took the heavy effort of everybody out there, and we showed what we can do, and we had 35 to 50,000 people out there, 2 grand events. I can remember that parade where we had a guest speaker that spoke for almost an hour out there as the soldiers were standing out in the wind with the flags. But every event was fun. We're coming up on a series of fall events, how AUSA tacked on. And we were just sitting there saying, hey, what can we do for our community? And I remembered Fort Rucker, and I said, 3 days we gave away food and things like that to Joe McLaughlin and Tina. And so we underwrite a holiday event here where everything is free, where we give away Christmas gifts through the engine, and all the food is free, and we bring in some entertainment to celebrate our community. Boss, I think you got Boss up there, does a whole series of events that's underwritten by AUSA. And we've had sellout crowds of 800, whether it's the Mutter or the Zombie Run or things like that. And when the soldiers see you investing in that, and we can do that for free, they remember, hey, they did it up here. And we started the Mutter 2 years ago, and it's just grown in size and led to other events like the Color Run. Haunted Hayride coming up. Tina out there until 10:30 until she runs out of hot chocolate. Contributing, and I tried to list all the private organizations that participate in one event or another. And my job here today is to talk a little bit about AUSA, which I'm so proud of. But the fact is that many of the enterprises, business activities out there that have membership in AUSA have stepped up to the plate also, and they've created their own participation within. So, and they've morphed out. Martins Point, Carthage Hospital, they've been involved in just about everything they get their hands on. And the last slide right here was going to be a check presentation to AUSA for their Riverfest effort, which underwrites their events for the year. They take 100% of their money and they reinvest it into soldiers and community. And I was going to ask Colonel Lasky to do that, but I have to take a buy because I can't do that publicly. So we're going to do that in a private event. But it's a very significant contribution, and it's because of the things that they have done. They pay for the boats, they pay for the food. They had 180 or 196 volunteers out there, almost double the size of the MWR cadre. And it just goes to show you what a caring community can do when everybody comes together and leverages each other for the goodwill of the soldiers and their family members. So I'm very proud of you. And I want to thank Michelle for letting me speak on behalf of all of you. Thank you so much.